Illumination. This is a game about medieval manuscripts in which you will be placing illustrations on these manuscripts, and then these illustrations start doing weird stuff like moving around and trying to kill each other. It is a game for only 2 players, and it is fairly heavy. Usually, I don't know why two-player games only for 2 players tend to be a little lighter than this one. One player will be the reverent player, controlling angels, monks, dogs, and knights, and the other player will be irreverent, controlling devils, rabbits with swords, squirrels, and dragons. Knights hate dragons, dogs hate squirrels, angels hate devils. In the real world, everybody hates rabbits with swords, but in this game, it is the monk's job to take care of that kind of weird nuance there. The game is played on and around a board made of 3 double-sided sections that represent the pages of the manuscript that we will be illuminating by placing our tiles. They're double-sided, so you can place them in different configurations. Each game we have some tiles that we place also at the beginning of the game, 1 per page, and they represent wild symbols in terms of resource collection, and we'll see what that means later. Each player has a board such as this one where you form a grid of 3 by 3 tiles from a pool of tiles that you shuffle together at the beginning of the game. 9 are placed there randomly, and the other tiles are also divided into stacks of 3, each randomly face down. Each turn you will use 1 stack, so that also gives you a very easy to visualize countdown clock for the end of the game. And you have 7 spaces where you will be collecting resources, and 7 is the maximum that you can have at the end of your turn. Now, the core idea of the game is pretty simple, but then there are a lot of actions that go around it that make it a little more complicated. Also, at the beginning of the game, you will receive a card that will tell you how many points you score for killing a number of symbols of that kind. For example, if this is the card that I drew, and I keep it secret from my opponent, I'm going to score 1, 2, 3, 6, and 10 points for killing 1, 2, 3, or 4 squirrels, or for rabbits with swords, and so on and so forth. The game idea, as I said, is pretty basic, which is at the beginning of each turn, and players will alternate taking turns, I select a line, a row, or a column from my manuscript. And suppose I decide that this is the column or manuscript that the column that I decided to use. Then I take the tiles from there and I place them on the page of the manuscript corresponding to that number. But for now, I place it on the margin, just like so. That was 2. Then they go there. This is important because that means that by default, they should be placed on that page number 2 of the manuscript, but I can spend coins, which are one of the resources in the game, to move them to other pages. So from 2 is not too expensive, but if you're in 3 and you want to move them to 1, that's a little more complicated. Then it's time for me to place my tiles on the page of the manuscript in which they are. The color on the background is important here. If I place a tile on a quill of the same color, red with red, then I immediately collect a coin and I place it here in my personal area. And maybe I do that again. Booyah. If I place a tile next to a tile of the same color, say here black with black, and also again, I know it doesn't look like black, but it's like the black quill. Okay, it's the dark brown color. Anyways, if I place a tile next to a tile of the same color, and these tiles are wild, so they match any color, I collect a ritual token of the corresponding color. Again, there's like black, brown, beige correspond to these tiles, and I collect 2 of that kind. If, for example, I was placing something here, then I would take these 2 tiles, ritual tiles, and I place them here. So there's definitely a set collection element because these ritual tiles here will be exchanged later for points, hopefully. So I place my tiles and that bit, right? Good for me. But then a couple of other things may happen. One thing is I can spend my resources. I've been collecting coins and tiles. Plot twist, there is another mini board up there that tells us what the abbot is doing. The abbot moves around on this track here for a fee. Greedy abbot, I guess he didn't read the part about the deadly sins and about greed. Anywho, for each coin that I spend, I can move the abbot one space on this track here. And suppose I decide that I want to put it there. When the abbot is on a kind of token, a ritual token, for which I have a bunch, then I can perform a ritual. So for example, now the abbot is on the yellow space and I have 4 corresponding tokens, and I can perform a yellow ritual. I discard those tokens and I place a marker belonging to me on the space for that ritual, corresponding to the number of tokens that I discarded. If, for example, later I move the abbot here and I discard 2 red tokens, then I can 3 red tokens, then I can place that one there. And that's pretty good because it will score me points at the end of the game, but also prevents an opponent from doing the same ritual. If by placing my tiles here on the board, I create a battle situation, say angels versus demon, angels adjacent to demon, knights adjacent to dragons, and also there's no place around to expand that, so there is no place to add more dragons to a dragon knight situation, no more spots to add to an angel demon situation, then a battle is resolved. Simply look at the cluster of opposing tiles that cannot be expanded. Whoever has majority there wins, and the tiles of the opponent flip face down, and that is how you eliminate tiles of the opponent to score them at the end of the game. Continue until all tiles have been placed or until all books have been filled, and then you simply collect points. You collect points from the rituals you performed for the abbot, points from your crusade card. By winning those battles, you get to also place tokens there. Say I won 2 battles with dogs against squirrels, and for each kind of battle who has the majority scores 5 points. Score points from a possible source, and at the end the player with the highest total wins the game. Illumination also has a true solo variant in which you play against an AI, but I will leave it to you to discover that version, as the wise man says. I played the 2-player version only, which seems to be the main idea here. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. This is quite thinky. It's pretty heavy, not maybe hardcore. We're not a feudum level. No, but when it comes to 2-player games, somehow, at least to me, there is an assumption that they're gonna be a little lighter. This has to be one of the heaviest 2-player only, or mainly 2-player game that I played in a while, because I can't recall of any other ones that requires quite that level of thinking. And you really want to spend your sweet time thinking about everything, because you don't have so many turns. The pages of the tomes are they fill up quickly, and making a single mistake can be pretty catastrophic. If we have an ongoing cluster of angels and demons there, then making one mistake there means that battle is sealed and gives you an advantage. You get to flip a lot of my angels or demons, whichever it is, face down. Maybe that's your crusade card and you score a lot of points, or that was my card and I don't get to score a lot of points. And so you get in that sense that you're really in that mode that you really want to make sure that you don't make a mistake there. You maximize your options. And it's not just about like, all right, put it there, and by doing that, I'm preventing you from doing so. Because The opponent also has many options. There are scriptorium cards. I don't think I mentioned them. They give you special effects. You spend coins, you acquire them. And then I think, wait a second, my opponent played those two scriptorium cards, so well, at least they don't have that one. But they may still have that card that changes them, moves that thing. So there's a lot considering, and again, there are going to be bottlenecks, so to speak, in the game, in gameplay, when a battle is about to be resolved, in which you really want to make sure that you covered as many angles as possible. So even with two players, there's going to be quite a little bit of waiting. It's not necessarily downtime, because again, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what my opponent will do, etc., etc. But I know there were a couple of times where I started feeling guilty because I was taking too long, and I apologized to my friendly opponent, and my friendly opponent from time to time would do that to me. So the pace of the game is going to be pretty slow. It's pretty involved game. It really draws you in a good way, again, but you have that brain burning feel at the end. Your brain is like slightly sore from all of the hard all the heavy lifting that the poor brain did, but in a good way. So if you're looking for a game that is really thinky, has a lot of different paths, ton of different options, many different things, but at the same time is also very restricted. You only have 3 tiles, and you only can choose them. You can't just use any 3 tiles anywhere in your personal grid. And of course, some tiles will be a lot more desirable than others, because I need to interact with tone 3, and the tiles that I want are in column number 1. Darn it. Different things you can do. And then I collect all of these resources, but I also need to move the abbot so I can perform the ritual that allows me to cash them in terms of points, and so on and so forth. A lot to think about, but also a lot of restrictions to work around, and obstacles that you have to navigate to be able to score those points. And the game, for a game that is this thinky, is really highly interactive, because so many things are relative. There aren't many things that you just like, I score a ton of points and that's it. I collect a lot of nice tokens, but if you cash in on that ritual before I do, the ritual is taken. So now those tokens, I need to build more to get the next level, or I need to settle for the weaker ritual in that category. To be able to score the crusade points, I need to defeat you, so it's relative to where your game pieces are. Winning certain battles, again, is majority. Whoever wins the most battles between monks and evil rabbits, and so on and so forth. Everything is so relative, so you have to take into account what the opponent is doing, might be doing. A lot to think about, a lot to digest. In essence, this is a satisfying thinking person's game. It does require quite a level of intellectual commitment, and ultimately after playing the game, I was like, wow, I really like this game. I don't think I would play it every day, because the requirement, the system requirements are pretty intense. But I would definitely play from time to time with the right player. Even better if it's somebody that has played already. Not so much because actually teaching the game is so hard, but because if you play the game and you're playing against a novice, unless you dumb your strategy down quite a bit, you're going to slaughter them, because it's not intuitive, which again makes learning the strategy fun, but also it means that it may be hard to find the players of equal level out there. So Illumination, a pretty unique game, almost like a combination of different game mechanics from different games, but I think they work together very well. The battle on the board, the set collection, the special effects on the cards, they work very well together. But again, it is a demanding game. Other than that, with that caveat, not a minus, but a caveat. It's the game that will not appeal to everybody, because again, it demands a lot. But it is a thinking person's game, which is both demanding, but if you're willing to put in the effort, it is definitely a rewarding game.